I recognize the honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to begin with a quotation from one of my favorite writers, Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is a writer, well, was a writer. She recently died. All of her writing, poetry, and essays were rooted in her observation of the natural world and her connection with the natural world. And her writing is astoundingly beautiful, and so I'm going to pepper in a couple of her zingers, her good lines into my speech tonight. So I want to begin with this quote. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? As I've started with every speech about this bill, I want to acknowledge the good work that's been done here. This is a good bill and reflects many years of important work by the staff in the Department of Environment and Climate Change and many experts in NGOs in many areas who have been researching, educating, and influencing policy for many years. It's very good that there are many legislated targets in this bill. This is something we know is essential for the province to meet our greenhouse gas emission reduction targets, our clean energy targets, and our land and water protection targets, as well as many others. Many of the aforementioned experts have been advocating for these targets being legislated for many years. I'm saying many a lot. I realize I should have maybe done one more pass through this writing. I just said that. Last night, though, Madam Speaker, we had Committee of the Whole House on Bills, which is a time in the process of the passing of a bill when we as lawmakers can really grapple with it and get into the nitty-gritty of it, clause by clause, line by line, as we did last night. It's a part of the process that can be dynamic and productive as amendments are amendments can strengthen the already existing text, and other suggestions can be proposed. But last night, Madam Speaker, we knew from the outset that most of our work in making these suggestions would be for nothing, as the minister had announced to the media that he wouldn't be accepting amendments, that the bill would pass as is, as though it was perfect already. In the end, the government did accept two very important amendments, and that was heartening. But the bill is still far from perfect. At the beginning of the committee, the minister rose and quoted from a number of representatives from environmental organizations, the Ecology Action Centre, Nature Nova Scotia, and even Joanne Roberts from the Federal Green Party. The irony of these quotations, of course, was that all of those parties and many, many more had come to law amendments to, yes, for the most part, praise the bill, the existence of the bill, the actual writing of the legislation, but also to suggest very clear amendments to strengthen it, to make it a bill with teeth so that we can achieve our climate change goals, which it bears repeating here, Madam Speaker, is to do our part to keep the warming of the planet to 1.5 degrees. And it was particularly ironic that many people involved in these organizations and others were outside the building last night, yelling so we could hear, "Amend the legislation, amend the legislation." And yet the minister and the government moved through the night, head down, determined to get their perfect bill through the committee with no changes or improvements, save the two important amendments regarding environmental racism. Second quote from Mary Oliver. To pay attention. This is our endless and proper work. As my colleague from Dartmouth South pointed out last night, the amendments we proposed to this bill represented experts from the community and were friendly amendments. That is, they did not change the spirit of the bill, but rather they would have strengthened it, offering steps and plans to reach the targets within the bill, a roadmap, as it were. As I have previously said, this is a good bill, an important bill, an essential bill. But the scope of the bill demanded much more cooperation with the opposition parties and the people who presented at law amendments. Like most important pieces of legislation, it requires deep listening and a commitment to people over profits. And of course, we know in this case that if we actually put people before profits, first and forward, the profits will follow. and that the green and clean economy is one that we need to boldly jump into, and right now. Third quote from Mary Oliver: love yourself, then forget it, then love the world. So here's the thing, Madam Speaker. We need to act now, and we need to act boldly now. We have less than 10 years to reach many of the essential goals, and in order to do that, we need to start now. And even then, the targets for greenhouse gas reductions, clean energy, and land protection do need to be strengthened. And we need to start working on the goals that are in place now, not next spring when the climate plan is announced, not in 2023 when the planned implementation of the Leahy report is due, even though it's ready to be implemented today. The lack of ambition and self-satisfaction with the targets that are floors and not ceilings to go beyond shows an overall lack of realism about what we're actually dealing with. When talking about this bill, the government has said, don't worry, we're setting the targets low and we'll probably exceed them. There are few interim targets to meet and fewer in this government's 4-year mandate. Many of our amendments, and the ones that the Liberals proposed last night, had to do with interim targets that could keep us on track. If the government is so sure that we will meet our targets, then why is it afraid to put interim targets into the legislation? Greta Thunberg, the young Danish climate activist, very famously said, "I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day, and then I want you to act." In this bill, there is no real sense of fear for the future or that we are running out of time. It's like no one listened this past summer when we heard the UN say that we are in a code red for humanity. The same summer that 700 people were killed in a heat wave in Canada. Climate modeling is getting more and more precise, and it gives us a better idea of how climate change will affect us. And though it's hard to think about, we need to be realistic about how climate will be changing the world that our kids are growing up in. A recent report from The Economist illustrates what different scenarios of warming will look like. Children born in 2020 will face a 2 to 7-fold increase in extreme climate-related events compared to those born in 1960 under current climate pledges. Those born in 1960, for example, will experience 4 heat waves in their lifetime. Those born in 2020 will experience 30 on current trends, 22 under 2-degree warming, and 18 if warming is limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That's what we're aiming for. And they'll still experience 18 heat waves. In a 3-degree Celsius world, a 6-year-old in 2020 will experience twice as many wildfires and tropical cyclones, 3 times more river floods, 4 times more crop failures, 5 times more droughts, and 36 times more heat waves than someone born in 1960. It's sobering to hear those numbers, and a little depressing. But we all have children in this, well, we don't all have children in this house, but we all have children in our lives. So for the record, I'd like to read a few names. Clayton, Eva, Fred, Rosanna, Allison, Molly, Anna, Sam, Rory, Françoise, Aimee, Jason, Kira Jill, Maisie, Isaac, Moss, Angus, Atlin, Salia, Cesar, Shaden, Sikilo, Savea, Sajora, Sage, Ben, Gabrielle, Mathieu, Felix. Those are the names of our caucus and our caucus staff's kids. Ben, Gabriel, Malachi, Hannah, Larissa, Olivia, William, Nicholas, Scott, and Laura. Those are the names of my siblings' children. Cash, Polly, Ida, Isaac, Winnie, Daphne, Sophia. Those are the names of some of my best friends' kids. The kids that I've just mentioned are range in age from 2 to 30, to their mid-30s. They are the actual children we are talking about when we talk about protecting the planet for our children. Everyone in this room has children in their lives that they can think of when we talk about who we are debating this bill for. And these are the children we need to feel panic about. This is the world we are confronting, and that we as elected officials need to tell the truth about and plan appropriate action. Madam Speaker, I am not by nature a fearmonger or someone who wants to stir things up. Well, that's sometimes I do, but or even oppose for the sake of opposing. That's really not my thing. This is not that is not the message I'm trying to drive toward today. Panic might not be the best reaction to climate change because it can lead to chaos and danger. But the good thing is that we can feel the urgency that panic induces, but we have tools in front of us to deal with the problems and to make the changes we need to stop the worst effects of climate change. We can have hope in ideas and opportunities ahead of us. And dare I say, hope is the thing that should drive us and could drive us. I felt hopeful at law amendments, listening to so many experts who were proposing such good changes to the bill to make it better and more effective. I felt hope in the public consultations conducted by the Clean Foundation this summer. And I feel hope when I think of all of those kids that I just named a few moments ago, and when I think of the thousands of students who have taken over the streets to demand better from their governments, here in Halifax and all over the world. And so, in hope, I say, we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emission targets. We need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 58% by 2030. We need to implement the Leahy report now. We need to implement the Dole-Leahy report yesterday. And we need to create efficiency targets and interim targets that actually get us to net zero on time. We have so many smart, expert, passionate Nova Scotians who are working hard on climate solutions. And I don't think with this bill the government has truly listened to them. We on this side of the House have brought many of the solutions to the government, and the government turned them down. But make no mistake, Madam Speaker, we will continue working hard to get some of those changes accepted. The success, the health of our province depends on it. Madam Speaker, I have discovered that humility is a scarce commodity in this profession, but I hope for the good of all that climate change will truly inspire all of us to put the people of our province and the land and the water itself ahead of any other pressing force that might be making this government pass this bill without the sensible improvements I have suggested. And I will close with these last words from Mary Oliver. I tell you this to break your heart, by which I mean only that it break open and never close again to the rest of the world. Thank you.